The phone call came on a Tuesday afternoon, right in the middle of helping Mrs. Chen pick out yarn for her granddaughter's baby blanket. I almost didn't answer when I saw the number. Trevor's cell phone. My son-in-law rarely called me directly. Usually, everything went through Emily. "Barbara," his voice was cold, measured, not the charming tone he used at family dinners. "I know Emily told you some story about falling. I'm calling to set the record straight." My hand tightened around my phone. Through the shop window I could see the autumn leaves falling on Maple Street, the same street I'd walked down for 65 years. Mrs. Chen was holding up 2 skeins of yellow yarn, waiting for my opinion, but I couldn't move. "What do you mean?" I managed to say. "I mean, I hit her. Yeah, I hit her." He paused, and I could hear him breathing. "What are you going to do about it?" The world tilted. In all my years, through raising Emily alone after her father died, through building my craft shop from nothing, through every hardship life had thrown at me, I had never felt rage like this. Pure, white-hot rage that made my hands shake. "Trevor!" "What are you going to do, Barbara? Call the police? With what proof?" "Emily won't say anything. She knows what's at stake. And even if you tried something, I have 3 lawyers on retainer and a judge who golfs with my father every Sunday. You're a 65-year-old woman who owns a craft shop. I'm a senior partner at Morrison & Associates. Who do you think anyone would believe?" I heard Emily's voice in the background, small and frightened. "Trevor, please." The line went dead. I stood there in my shop, surrounded by spools of thread and fabric bolts and half-finished quilts, holding a phone that suddenly felt like it weighed 100 pounds. Mrs. Chen was asking if I was okay. My assistant, Yolanda, was coming out from the back room looking concerned. But all I could think about was that bruise on Emily's arm. The ugly, purple-black mark that looked like fingers. The way she'd flinched when Oliver, my 4-year-old grandson, had accidentally bumped into her yesterday. The lie she'd told, "Oh, Mom, you know how clumsy I am. I tripped on the sidewalk coming out of the grocery store." I'd known it was a lie. A mother knows. But hearing Trevor say it out loud, hearing the contempt in his voice, the absolute certainty that there was nothing I could do, that broke something open inside me. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Chen," I said, my voice somehow steady. "I need to close early today. Family emergency." What Trevor didn't know, what Emily didn't know, was that I had already been planning. For 3 weeks I'd been gathering evidence, making calls, consulting with people. The morning walks I took? I was meeting with Diane, my oldest friend, whose daughter was a prosecutor. The craft supply shopping trips? I was visiting a lawyer who specialized in domestic violence cases, a woman named Patricia Reeves who didn't golf with anyone's father. They didn't know that this 65-year-old craft shop owner had one more card to play, and I was about to show my hand. 2 months earlier, everything had seemed fine. Well, as fine as things ever were. It was a Wednesday morning in late July, and I was doing what I did every Wednesday, opening up Barbara's Crafts at exactly 8:30 a.m., making a pot of coffee in the back room, and setting out the new shipment of embroidery hoops by the window. My shop sat on the corner of Maple and 3rd, a little storefront I'd bought 30 years ago with money from my late husband's life insurance. People thought I was crazy back then. "Barbara," they'd said, "you're 35 years old with a 5-year-old daughter. You should find a stable job with benefits, not waste money on a craft shop." But I'd built something. The shop wasn't fancy, just one room with wooden shelves I'd installed myself, a register that still used paper receipts, and a bell that dinged when customers walked in. But it was mine. It paid my bills. More than that, it gave me purpose. That morning, Emily called just as I was arranging the display of autumn-themed fabric. "Hi, Mom." Her voice sounded tired. "Honey, I wasn't expecting to hear from you this early. Isn't Oliver still asleep?" "He's with Trevor's mother. I just wanted to hear your voice." Something in her tone made me pause. I set down the bolt of orange cotton I was holding. "Is everything okay?" "Of course. Everything's great. Trevor just got promoted to senior partner. We're celebrating this weekend." "That's wonderful news," I said, though I couldn't muster much enthusiasm. Trevor Morrison had always rubbed me the wrong way. He'd swept Emily off her feet 7 years ago, right after she'd graduated from college. By the time I met him, they were already engaged. He was handsome, successful, came from money, everything I'd never been able to give my daughter. And he knew it. "We'd love for you to come to the celebration dinner on Saturday," Emily continued. "Trevor's parents will be there, and some of his colleagues." "Of course I'll be there. Where and when?" "The Riverside Club at 7. "Dress nice, okay, Mom? It's kind of a fancy place." The Riverside Club, where Trevor's family had been members for 3 generations, where I'd feel like an outsider in my nicest dress from Macy's, surrounded by women in designer clothes. "I'll be there," I promised. After we hung up, I stood in my shop, coffee going cold in my hand, feeling that familiar mix of pride and worry. Pride that my daughter had married well, that she lived in a beautiful house in Willow Creek Estates, that she never had to struggle the way I had. Worry because something felt off, had felt off for months now. The bell above the door dinged. Diane walked in, already dressed for her morning walk in bright purple sneakers and a t-shirt that said 70 and fabulous. "Ready?" she asked. "Give me 2 minutes." Diane and I had been friends since high school. She'd married Robert Chen, had 3 kids, and lived 2 streets over from me. For the past 5 years, since we'd both started dealing with various aches and pains, we'd made a pact to walk together every morning before I opened the shop. 3 miles around the park, rain or shine. That morning, as we walked past the duck pond, I told her about Emily's call. "Another fancy dinner," Diane said, shaking her head. "That man loves to show off." "He does provide well for them." "Barbara." Diane stopped walking and looked at me seriously. "You don't have to defend him to me. I know you don't like him." "I don't know him well enough to not like him," I protested. But it was weak, and we both knew it. "My daughter Amy says Trevor has a reputation," Diane said quietly. "She's prosecuted cases where he's defended some real nasty people and gotten them off on technicalities. Corporate fraud, assault. He doesn't care as long as the money's good." "That's his job, though." "Maybe, but Amy says he's ruthless. She says he'll do anything to win." We walked in silence for a while, our footsteps crunching on the gravel path. "Emily seems happy," I said finally. Diane squeezed my arm. "Then that's what matters." But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Saturday came. I closed the shop at 5, went home to my small 2-bedroom house, the same house where I'd raised Emily, and pulled out my nice dress. Navy blue, bought 4 years ago for Emily's wedding. I added the pearl necklace my mother had left me and looked at myself in the mirror, 65 years old, gray hair that I kept short and practical, wrinkles around my eyes from years of squinting over needlework, hands that were starting to show age spots and arthritis. I looked exactly like what I was, a working-class woman who'd spent her whole life making do. The Riverside Club was everything I expected. Valet parking, a doorman, inside crystal chandeliers and thick carpets that muffled every sound. A hostess in a black dress led me to a private dining room where Trevor's party was already in full swing. "Barbara!" Trevor's mother, Constance Morrison, air-kissed both my cheeks. She smelled like expensive perfume and disapproval. "So lovely you could make it." Trevor's father, Gerald, gave me a firm handshake and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Good to see you." Then I saw Emily. She was wearing a long-sleeved dress despite the summer heat, her hair pulled back in an elegant twist. She looked beautiful and fragile, like a porcelain doll. When she hugged me, I felt how thin she'd gotten. "Mom," she whispered, "I'm so glad you're here." Trevor appeared at her side, one arm sliding possessively around her waist. "Barbara, thanks for coming." His smile was all teeth. "Emily was worried you'd be too busy with the shop." "I wouldn't miss my son-in-law's big celebration," I said. "Of course not. Here, let me introduce you to some people." For the next hour, I was paraded around the room like a curiosity. This is Emily's mother. She owns a little craft shop downtown. Very quaint. Every introduction felt like a subtle put-down. The emphasis on little. The way he said downtown like it was a foreign country. The patronizing smiles from his colleagues and their wives. But I smiled and made small talk and said all the right things. Because that's what you do. You endure for your children. Dinner was served. Some kind of fish with a French name and vegetables artfully arranged on the plate. I used the right fork and made sure I didn't do anything embarrassing. Next to me, Emily barely ate, pushing food around her plate. "Are you feeling okay, honey?" I whispered. "Just tired. Oliver had me up early." "Where is my grandson tonight?" "With Trevor's parents' housekeeper. Trevor thought it would be better if Oliver stayed home." Trevor, who was holding court at the head of the table, talking about his latest case victory. After dinner, I went to find the restroom. The ladies' room at the Riverside Club was bigger than my living room, all marble and gold fixtures. Emily was standing at the sink, staring at herself in the mirror. "Emily!" She jumped, then forced a smile. "Mom, I was just fixing my makeup." I walked over to her. In the harsh bathroom lighting, I could see dark circles under her eyes that concealer couldn't quite hide. And when she reached for her purse, her sleeve rode up, revealing the edge of a bruise on her wrist. "Emily." I caught her hand gently. "What's this?" She pulled away quickly, tugging down her sleeve. "Nothing. I bumped into a door." "You bumped into a door?" "Yes, Mom. I'm clumsy. You know that." She was talking too fast, not meeting my eyes. "The house is so big, and I was carrying Oliver, and I just... Emily Margaret Caldwell." She froze. I only used her full maiden name when I was serious. "Look at me." Slowly she raised her eyes to mine, and in them I saw something that made my heart break. Fear. "If something is wrong," I said carefully, "you can tell me. Whatever it is, I'll help you." "Nothing's wrong." She was smiling now, that bright, brittle smile I'd been seeing more and more lately. "Everything's perfect. Trevor's doing so well, Oliver is healthy, we have a beautiful home. What could be wrong?" "Baby, we should get back. Trevor doesn't like it when I'm gone too long." She left before I could say anything else. I stood in that marble bathroom, my heart pounding. Trevor doesn't like it when I'm gone too long. The way she'd said it, automatic, fearful. When I returned to the dining room, Trevor was laughing loudly at something Gerald had said. His hand was on Emily's shoulder, gripping a little too tight. I watched as she tried to shift away, and his fingers dug in harder. That's when I knew. That's when I really knew. The next morning, Sunday, I called Emily 3 times. Each call went to voicemail. By the 4th call, Trevor answered. "Barbara, Emily's not available right now." "It's 10 a.m. on a Sunday. When will she be available?" "She's tired. She needs rest." "Trevor, I just want to talk to my daughter." "And I just said she's not available. You know, Barbara, you need to respect boundaries. Emily has her own life now. You can't just call whenever you want." The line went dead. I stood in my kitchen, the Sunday crossword puzzle I'd been doing abandoned on the table. The coffee pot burbled in the background. Through the window I could see Mrs. Rodriguez next door watering her petunias. Everything looked normal. Everything felt wrong. That's when I started making plans. First, I called Diane. "Can we meet for coffee?" "Of course. The usual place?" The usual place was a little cafe called Morning Brew, halfway between our houses. 30 minutes later, we were sitting in a corner booth, away from other customers. "I need to ask you something," I said. "And I need you to be honest with me." Diane's expression grew serious. "What's going on?" I told her everything. The bruise, Emily's fear, Trevor's control, the way she'd flinched in that bathroom. When I finished, Diane reached across the table and gripped my hand. "Amy," she said, "I need to talk to Amy." Amy Chen, Diane's youngest daughter, was a prosecutor in the county district attorney's office. She specialized in domestic violence cases. "I don't want to make trouble," I said. "If Emily isn't ready, you're not making trouble. You're getting information. There's a difference." That afternoon, Amy came to my house. She was in her 30s, sharp-eyed and serious, carrying a folder of documents. "Mrs. Caldwell," she said, sitting at my kitchen table. "Mom told me what you saw. I want to help, but I need you to understand something. In domestic violence cases, the victim has to be willing to come forward. I can't force Emily to press charges. I understand. But what you can do is document everything, every bruise, every incident, every time Trevor isolates her or controls her. If and when Emily is ready to leave, that documentation will be crucial." "How do I do that?" Amy opened her folder. "Keep a journal. Write down dates, times, what you observed. If you see bruises, take photos if Emily will let you. Save any text messages where Trevor shows controlling behavior. Get Emily to confide in you, and document what she says. She won't talk to me. He won't let her. Then you have to be patient, and you have to be smart." Amy looked at me intently. "Trevor Morrison is a powerful man. He has resources and connections. If you're going to help Emily, you can't do anything that will make him more suspicious or give him ammunition against you." "What do you mean?" "I mean he could claim you're interfering in his marriage. He could get a restraining order against you, preventing you from seeing Emily and Oliver. He could paint you as an overbearing mother trying to break up a happy family. Men like Trevor are very good at controlling the narrative." My hands were shaking. I clasped them together on the table. "So, what do I do?" "You play the long game," Amy said. "You stay involved in Emily's life in whatever ways Trevor allows. You watch and document. You let Emily know, subtly, that you're there when she's ready. And when the time comes, you have everything ready to help her get out safely." She pulled out more papers. "This is information on restraining orders, safe houses, legal aid societies. This is a list of signs of escalating abuse. The more of these you see, the more urgent the situation. This is the number for the domestic violence hotline. Don't call it from your regular phone. Trevor could have access to phone records." I felt like I was drowning. "I'm just a craft shop owner. I don't know how to do all this." Amy's expression softened. "Mrs. Caldwell, you raised a daughter by yourself. You built a business from nothing. You're stronger than you think. And you're not alone. Mom and I will help you every step of the way." After Amy left, I sat at my kitchen table for a long time, looking at all the papers she'd given me. The coffee in my cup had gone cold. I thought about Emily as a little girl, how she'd loved to help me in the shop, carefully organizing buttons by color. How she'd been so proud when I'd taught her to sew, making her first pillow at age 7. How we'd been a team, just the two of us, after her father died. I thought about Trevor's smile at dinner, all teeth and no warmth. I thought about the bruise on Emily's wrist. Then I got up, pulled out a notebook, and started writing. Date, August 2nd. Time, 7:30 p.m. Location, the Riverside Club. Observation, bruise on Emily's left wrist, approximately 2 inches long, finger-shaped pattern. The next few weeks were some of the hardest of my life. I had to pretend everything was normal. I had to smile and be pleasant, and not show Trevor that I suspected anything. I joined a WhatsApp group that Amy had recommended, a support group for family members of domestic violence victims. There were 12 of us, mostly mothers and sisters, all trying to help someone we loved escape an abusive relationship. The group was anonymous. We used only first names. Late at night, after closing the shop, I'd read through the messages. Stories that made me sick. Stories that also gave me hope, because some of them had endings where the victim got out safely. A woman named Patricia wrote, "Took my daughter 4 years to leave. I thought I'd go crazy waiting. But she finally did it, and now she's safe. Patience is the hardest thing, but sometimes it's the only thing." During the day, I kept my routine. Open the shop at 8:30, morning walk with Diane, help customers with their projects, Wednesday afternoon quilting circle, Friday evening knitting group. But everything had changed. I was documenting constantly. I started a secure email account that Trevor couldn't trace and sent myself notes and photos from it. I saw Emily twice in those weeks. The first time she came to the shop with Oliver. My grandson ran to me, all 4 years of boundless energy. Grandma, we went to the park." "Did you? Did you see the ducks?" "Yeah, and I fed them, but Mommy said don't get too close 'cause they might bite." I scooped him up, breathing in his little boy smell of graham crackers and sunshine. Over his head, I looked at Emily. She was wearing long sleeves again, despite the August heat. "How are you, honey?" "Good. Busy. Trevor's been working late a lot, so it's mostly just me and Oliver." "Why don't you come stay with me for a few days? You and Oliver both. Give you a break." Something flickered in her eyes. Hope, maybe, or longing. Then it died. Trevor wouldn't like that. He likes us home. But if he's working late anyway, "Mom, please." Her voice was sharp. Then softer. "Please don't push." I backed off, but I took photos. Oliver had climbed onto my lap, and while he showed me a picture he'd drawn, I snapped a picture of Emily's reflection in the shop window. You could see the bruise on her collarbone where her shirt had shifted. The second time I saw her was worse. She showed up at my house on a Thursday evening, unexpected. It was raining, and she stood on my porch with Oliver, both of them soaked. "Emily, come in, come in." I ushered them inside, grabbed towels. "What happened?" "The car broke down a few blocks from here. I was coming home from Oliver's preschool, and it just stopped. Can we stay here while I call 888? "Of course. Oliver, let's get you some hot chocolate. Emily, there are dry clothes in my bedroom. I'm fine, Mom." But she wasn't fine. When she reached for her phone, I saw her wince, and when Oliver reached up to hug her, she gasped in pain. "Emily, I'm fine." "You're not fine. Let me see." "Mom, Emily Margaret Caldwell, I am your mother. Let me see." Slowly, reluctantly, she lifted her shirt. There was a bruise on her ribs, purple-black and the size of my hand, the shape of a kick. I felt my world tilt. "He did this." It wasn't a question. Emily pulled her shirt down quickly, glancing at Oliver, who was distracted by my cat. "It was an accident. He didn't mean to—" An accident. He was stressed about work, and I said something stupid, and It was just one time. Just one time. My voice was flat. "What about your wrist?" "Mom, what about the bruise on your collarbone? What about the fact that you flinch every time someone moves too fast near you?" Tears started rolling down her face. "Please don't. Please, Mom, I can't. If he thinks I told you, if he thinks I'm talking about our private business. Emily, this isn't private business, this is assault. You don't understand." She was crying harder now, trying to keep quiet so Oliver wouldn't hear. "He'll take Oliver. He has lawyers, Mom. He has judges who owe him favors. He told me if I ever tried to leave, he'd make sure I never saw Oliver again. And he can do it. You know he can." I pulled her into my arms, this daughter I'd raised, and let her cry. "Listen to me," I said quietly. "We're going to fix this, but you have to trust me. There's nothing to fix. I just need to be better. If I can just— Emily, stop." I held her at arm's length, looking into her eyes. "This is not your fault. None of this is your fault, but I need you to do something for me." "What?" "I need you to let me take pictures of every bruise right now." "Mom, no. Emily, I have been documenting everything I've seen for 3 weeks. I have a lawyer on standby. I have a prosecutor who's helping me. But I need your permission to take these photos. They need to be date-stamped and stored somewhere safe. Will you let me do that?" She looked at me for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. I took 18 photos that night. Bruises on her ribs, her arms, her back. One on her thigh that looked like it came from being shoved into a table corner. All while Oliver played with my cat in the living room, oblivious. Then I sent those photos to my secure email with the date and timestamp. "What now?" Emily whispered. "Now you go home, you act normal, and when you're ready to leave, Really ready. You call me. I don't care if it's 3 a.m. or the middle of Christmas dinner. You call me and I will come get you and Oliver. He'll destroy you, she said. He's already talking about how you're trying to interfere in our marriage. He'll make sure you never see Oliver again. Let him try. The Alway truck came. Emily and Oliver left. I stood on my porch, watching their taillights disappear into the rain. Then I went inside, pulled out my notebook, and wrote down everything that had happened. Every word Emily had said. Every bruise I'd photographed. The next day, I called Patricia Reeves, the lawyer Amy had recommended. Patricia was in her 50s, with steel gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. "Mrs. Caldwell," she said, sitting across from me in her modest office, "I'm going to be blunt with you. Cases like this are difficult. Trevor Morrison is well connected. He has resources. And if Emily isn't ready to leave, there's limited legal action we can take. But if she does leave, then we move fast. We file for an emergency restraining order. We document the abuse. We make sure Oliver is safe. But it has to be Emily's choice, and she has to be ready to see it through. Once we start this process, Trevor will fight back hard. Emily needs to understand that." "What can I do to prepare?" Patricia pulled out a legal pad. "Do you own property?" "I own my house and my shop, both free and clear." "Good. What about savings?" "I have about $78,000 in savings. My pension from the shop. Social Security." "Even better. Here's what I need you to do. Open a separate bank account that Trevor can't trace. Put some money in it. Enough to support Emily and Oliver for several months if necessary. Get a P.O. box for sensitive. Documents. If Trevor tries to retaliate against you financially or legally, you need resources he doesn't know about." Over the next few weeks, I did exactly that. I opened an account at a credit union in the next town over, under just my name. I transferred $30,000 into it. I rented a P.O. box. I felt like a spy. I felt ridiculous. But I also felt purposeful. The ladies in my WhatsApp group cheered me on. Patricia wrote, "You're doing great. This is exactly what my mom did for me. Having resources ready made all the difference." Another woman, Sarah, wrote, "My sister wouldn't leave her abuser for 6 years. But when she finally did, our parents had everything ready. She and her kids went straight from the hospital to a safe house they'd already paid for. Planning saved her life. My morning walks with Diane became strategy sessions. I'm scared," I admitted one morning as we circled the duck pond. "What if I'm making things worse? What if Trevor finds out what I'm doing and takes it out on Emily?" "You're not making things worse," Diane said firmly. "You're preparing to help your daughter. There's a difference." I keep thinking about when Emily was little. She was so brave. Remember when she broke her arm falling off the monkey bars? She didn't even cry. She just said, "Mama, I think something's wrong with my arm." So calm and brave. "She's still brave," Diane said. "She's surviving. That takes enormous courage." In September, things escalated. Emily stopped answering her phone entirely. When I called, it went straight to voicemail. My text messages went unanswered. I drove to the house in Willow Creek Estates, that beautiful neighborhood with its manicured lawns and gated entrances. The security guard recognized me. I'd been there for birthday parties and holidays, and waved me through. Emily's house was a 2-story colonial with white columns and a perfect green lawn. Trevor's BMW was in the driveway, which was unusual for a Tuesday afternoon. I rang the doorbell. No answer. I rang again. Finally, Trevor opened the door. He was in casual clothes, unusual for him, and his expression was cold. "Barbara, what can I do for you?" "I'd like to see Emily and Oliver." "This isn't a good time." "Trevor, I haven't heard from my daughter in over a week. I just want to make sure she's okay." "She's fine. She's been busy." "Then let me see her." We stared at each other. His hand was tight on the doorframe. "Emily doesn't want to see you right now," he said finally. "She's upset because you've been filling her head with nonsense about our marriage." "I haven't." "You took pictures of her. Don't lie. She told me. You took pictures and told her I was abusing her." My heart stopped. Emily had told him. Those bruises were from her being clumsy. Emily has always been accident-prone. But instead of supporting your daughter, you tried to turn her against her husband. That's low, Barbara, even for you. Let me talk to her. No. He stepped back and started to close the door. And if you keep harassing us, I'll get a restraining order. Stay away from my family. The door slammed in my face. I stood on that perfect porch in that perfect neighborhood and felt my legs shaking. I walked back to my car on autopilot, got in, and sat there. He knew about the pictures, which meant he'd found them on Emily's phone, or Emily had told him out of fear, or... My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Caldwell? A woman's voice. This is Willow Creek Elementary. I'm calling about Oliver Morrison. His mother listed you as an emergency contact, and we need someone to pick him up. Is Oliver okay? He's fine, but no one came to pick him up after preschool. We've been calling his parents for an hour, but no one's answering. Trevor was home. Emily was home. But no one had picked up Oliver. I'll be right there. Oliver was sitting in the school office, looking small and scared. When he saw me, he ran into my arms. Grandma, where's Mommy? Mommy's probably just running late, sweetie. Let's get you some ice cream. I signed him out, buckled him into my car, and drove straight to the police station. I need to do a wellness check, I told the officer at the desk. My daughter and her husband are home, but they didn't pick up their son from school. I'm worried something's wrong. The officer took down the information. We'll send someone over. I sat in the police station waiting room with Oliver, who was eating a lollipop the receptionist had given him. My phone rang. Trevor. You called the police on me? His voice was shaking with rage. You called the fucking police? No one picked up Oliver from school because we were handling a situation, but instead of minding your own business, you had to escalate things. You had to make me look bad. Where's Emily? She's fine. We had an argument. She locked herself in the bathroom. It's none of your concern. Put her on the phone. No. Trevor, put my daughter on the phone right now, or I'm telling these officers to break down your door. There was a long pause. Then Emily's voice, shaky and small. Mom? Are you okay? I'm fine. It was just an argument. I'm sorry we forgot about Oliver. Emily, tell me the truth. Are you safe? Another pause. Then, yes. But I could hear Trevor in the background, could hear the fear in her voice. If you need help, I said carefully. If you need to leave, say the word fine again. Silence. Then, everything's fine, Mom, everything's fine. I closed my eyes. Okay, I love you. I love you too. The line went dead. I looked at the officer. My daughter says she's fine. Ma'am, if there's no emergency, please just do the wellness check, please. They did. 2 officers drove to the house. They called me an hour later. Mr. and Mrs. Morrison were both fine. No signs of distress. Mrs. Morrison confirmed she'd had a headache and forgotten to pick up her son, and she apologized for the confusion. No further action needed. I took Oliver home with me that night. Trevor called around 8 p.m., his voice saccharine. Barbara, thanks so much for picking up Oliver. We really appreciate it. Emily and I were dealing with a plumbing emergency. We'll come get him in the morning. He can stay with me tonight. No, we'll come get him. They came at 9 p.m. Emily looked hollow-eyed and pale. She wouldn't look at me. Thanks, Mom, she whispered as they left. Trevor's hand was on her elbow, guiding her to the car, or controlling her. Same thing. After they left, I sat in my quiet house and cried. Big, ugly sobs that I'd been holding in for weeks. Then I pulled myself together, opened my laptop, and sent everything. Every photo, every documentation entry, every text message, to 3 different secure email accounts. If Trevor Morrison thought he could intimidate me, he was wrong. I called Amy Chen. I need to know what my legal options are, all of them. Amy came over the next day with more folders, more documents. The problem, she explained, is that Emily has to be willing to leave. We can't force her. But what we can do is make sure that when she's ready, everything is in place. What does that mean? It means we prep everything now. We have the restraining order paperwork ready to file. We have documentation of the abuse. We have a safe place for her to go. There's a shelter that takes domestic violence victims with children, and I've already put Emily's name on the priority list. We have a lawyer ready to fight for custody of Oliver. How much will all this cost? The shelter is free. Legal aid can help with the restraining order. But for a custody battle against someone like Trevor? Amy looked at me seriously. It could cost $50,000 or more. I thought about my savings, my shop, my house. I'll pay it, I said, whatever it costs. Mrs. Caldwell, I'll sell the shop if I have to. I'll mortgage my house. I will do whatever it takes to get my daughter and grandson safe. Amy squeezed my hand. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. October came. The leaves turned gold and red. My shop did good business. People getting ready for Halloween and holiday crafting. I smiled and helped customers and acted like everything was normal. But I was just waiting for the phone to ring, waiting for Emily to be ready. The WhatsApp group kept me sane. Late at night, I'd read messages from other women who understood, who'd been through this, who'd survived. Margaret wrote, "It took my daughter 3 false starts before she finally left for good. Don't give up. Every time she tries, she gets a little stronger." Then came the Tuesday that changed everything. The phone call, Trevor's voice cold and cruel. "Yeah, I hit her. What are you going to do about it?" After he hung up, I stood in my shop, rage and terror fighting for dominance in my chest. What was I going to do about it? I was going to do everything. I called Amy. "We're moving. Now. Today. Is Emily ready?" "She's going to have to be. He just admitted to hitting her. He's escalating. We can't wait anymore." Okay, let me make some calls. I called Patricia Reeves. File everything. The restraining order, the emergency custody petition, everything. "Barbara, without Emily's cooperation, I'll get her cooperation. Just have everything ready." I called Diane. "I need you. I'm on my way." 20 minutes later, Amy and Diane were in my shop. We stood in the back room away from customers, planning like generals before a battle. "The biggest danger," Amy said, "is if we spook him. If Trevor thinks Emily is leaving, he might escalate the violence. We need to get her out safely." "How?" "Does Emily have anywhere she goes regularly? Somewhere Trevor wouldn't be suspicious?" I thought. "Oliver has preschool. She drops him off every morning at 9 and picks him up at noon." "Perfect. Tomorrow morning when she drops Oliver off, we'll be there. We'll convince her to come with us directly to the police station to file a report. Then we go straight to the courthouse for an emergency restraining order." "And if she refuses?" Amy and Diane looked at each other. "Then we can't force her," Amy said quietly. "But Barbara, you've laid so much groundwork. You have documentation, resources, a plan. That's more than most victims have. You've given her every tool she needs. Now she has to decide to use them." That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about Emily as a little girl. The way she used to fall asleep on my lap while I worked on sewing projects. The way she'd help me in the shop, so careful and precise with the scissors. The way Trevor had looked at her on their wedding day. Proud, possessive, like she was a trophy he'd won. The next morning, October 15th, I got up at 6 a.m. I put on practical clothes, jeans and a sweater. I packed a bag with granola bars, water bottles, Oliver's favorite stuffed animal that he'd left at my house. Diane met me at my house at 8 a.m. Amy pulled up at 8:15 in her sensible gray sedan. "Ready?" Amy asked. "Ready." We drove to Willow Creek Elementary. Amy had called ahead to explain the situation. The principal, Mrs. Thompson, had agreed to let us wait in her office. At 8:55, Trevor's BMW pulled up. Emily got out with Oliver. She looked thin and tired. Oliver was chattering about something, pulling on her hand. She walked him to the door. That's when we stepped out. "Emily," I said. She froze, looked at me, then at Amy, then at Diane. "Mom, what are you—" "We need to talk," I said, "please." "I can't. Trevor's waiting." "Emily." Amy stepped forward. "My name is Amy Chen. I'm a prosecutor with the DA's office. Your mother has been documenting abuse for 2 months. We have photos, we have your statements, we have Trevor's admission yesterday on the phone that he hit you." Emily's face went white. "We want to help you," Amy continued, "but we need you to come with us right now. We need you to file a police report and get an emergency restraining order. Can you do that?" I can't. He'll what?" I asked gently. "Emily, what's the worst thing he can do if you leave?" "He'll take Oliver. He'll make sure I never see my son again." "Not if we move first," Amy said. "That's why we need to go now, right now. We have lawyers ready. We have documentation. We have safe housing. But you have to decide to do this." Emily looked at Oliver, who was waving at her from inside the school. She looked at Trevor's car in the distance, waiting. Then she looked at me. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know, but I'm right here, and I'm not going anywhere." She took a breath, then another. "Okay," she said. "Okay." The next 6 hours were a blur. We drove straight to the police station. Emily gave a statement. She showed the officers the bruises that were still visible. She had new ones I hadn't seen, fresh ones on her upper arms. Officer Rodriguez, a woman who specialized in domestic violence cases, took photos and wrote everything down. "Mrs. Morrison," she said gently, "I know this is scary, but you're doing the right thing." From the police station, we went to the courthouse. Patricia Reeves met us there with a stack of paperwork already prepared. "We're filing for an emergency restraining order," she explained to Emily. "This will prohibit Trevor from contacting you or coming within 500 feet of you or Oliver. We're also filing for emergency custody. Given the documented abuse and the danger to Oliver, we have a good chance of getting you temporary full custody." "He has lawyers," Emily whispered. "Good lawyers." "So do you," Patricia said, squeezing her hand. "And we have something better than good lawyers. We have the truth." The hearing was at 2 p.m. Trevor showed up with 3 attorneys, all in expensive suits. When he saw Emily sitting with us, his face went dark with rage. Judge Morrison, no relation to Trevor despite the same last name, heard both sides. Trevor's lawyers argued that this was an overreaction, that Emily was emotionally unstable, that I had poisoned her against her loving husband. Then Amy presented our evidence, photos, documentation, the statement from yesterday's phone call where Trevor admitted to hitting Emily. The judge looked at the photos for a long time, then she looked at Trevor. "Mr. Morrison," she said, "these photos are deeply troubling, and your admission to Mrs. Caldwell that you struck your wife is inexcusable." "Your Honor, if I may," one of his lawyers started. "You may not." The judge's voice was steel. "I'm granting the emergency restraining order. Mr. Morrison, you are prohibited from contacting your wife or coming within 500 feet of her or your son. I'm granting Mrs. Morrison temporary full custody of the minor child, pending a full hearing in 30 days. Trevor shot to his feet. "This is ridiculous. Mr. Morrison, sit down or I'll hold you in contempt." He sat, but his eyes were on Emily. The look he gave her was pure hatred. As we left the courthouse, I saw him on his phone, already calling someone. I knew this wasn't over. This was just the beginning. But we'd won the first battle. That night, Emily and Oliver stayed at my house. We ordered pizza and watched cartoons, and Oliver fell asleep on the couch with his head on Emily's lap. "What happens now?" Emily asked quietly. "Now we get you truly safe," I said. "Patricia says we should move you to the shelter tomorrow. It's secure, and Trevor won't be able to find you there." "I can't hide forever." "You won't have to. But right now, while he's angry and unpredictable, you need to be somewhere safe." Emily looked at her son, sleeping peacefully. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry I didn't leave sooner. I'm sorry I let it get this bad." "Stop!" I moved to sit beside her, putting my arm around her shoulders. This is not your fault. None of this is your fault. You survived. You got out. That's what matters. When he said that to you on the phone, what are you going to do about it? I was so scared I thought he'd hurt you too. I'm tougher than I look, I said, trying to smile. You really are. Emily leaned her head on my shoulder. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for not giving up on me. I will never give up on you. Never. The next day, Amy and I drove Emily and Oliver to the safe house. It was a nondescript building in an undisclosed location with security cameras and locked doors. Inside, it was warm and welcoming, a place that understood trauma and survival. You'll be safe here, the director, a woman named Sarah, explained. We have counselors, legal advocates, and childcare. You can stay as long as you need. Emily looked terrified, but she nodded. When I hugged her goodbye, she whispered, I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. Call me every day. The next few weeks were brutal. Trevor hired a high-powered legal team. They filed motion after motion, trying to get the restraining order lifted, trying to get custody of Oliver. But we fought back. Patricia was relentless. Every time Trevor's lawyers filed something, she had a response ready. She presented evidence of abuse, of Trevor's controlling behavior, of the danger he posed. Trevor tried to get to me. He showed up at my shop one day, flanked by his lawyers. Barbara, he said, his voice dripping with false concern. I think we need to talk. I have a restraining order, I said. You're not supposed to be here. The restraining order is for Emily, not you. I just want to understand why you're destroying my family. I looked at this man who'd hurt my daughter, who'd terrorized her, who'd thought he was untouchable. I'm not destroying your family, I said calmly. You did that yourself. Now get out of my shop. You'll regret this, he said quietly. I will make sure you regret this. Is that a threat? It's a promise. After he left, I called Patricia. He just threatened me. Good. Document. Everything. We'll add it to the case. Trevor tried other tactics. He had his parents call me, telling me I was breaking up a loving family. He had mutual friends reach out, saying Emily was exaggerating, that I was overreacting. But I held firm. Every time someone tried to make me doubt myself, I looked at the photos on my phone, the bruises, the fear in Emily's eyes. The custody hearing was scheduled for November 15th, exactly 30 days after the emergency order. Patricia prepared us carefully. Trevor's team will try to paint Emily as unstable. They'll say she's a bad mother. They'll try to make you look like a meddling mother-in-law who poisoned the marriage. We need to be ready. The day of the hearing, I wore my best dress. Not the navy one from the fancy dinner, but a simple gray suit I'd bought for the occasion. Emily wore a conservative dress that Diane had helped her pick out. Trevor's lawyers went first. They painted a picture of a loving husband unfairly accused. They brought in character witnesses, Trevor's colleagues, his golf buddies, who testified what a great guy he was. They tried to discredit the photos. These bruises could be from anything. Mrs. Morrison is admittedly clumsy. They tried to discredit me. Mrs. Caldwell has always been jealous of her daughter's success. She resented that Emily married someone wealthy. Then it was our turn. Patricia called Emily to the stand. In a quiet, steady voice, Emily described years of abuse, the hitting, the controlling behavior, the threats, the isolation. Why didn't you leave sooner? Patricia asked. Because I was terrified, Emily said simply. He told me he'd take Oliver away. He told me no one would believe me. He told me I was nothing without him. And I believed him. What changed? Emily looked at me. My mother never gave up on me. She made me remember that I was strong, that I deserved better, that my son deserved better. Patricia called me next. I testified about what I'd observed, about the documentation I'd kept, about Trevor's phone call. Why did you go to such lengths? Patricia asked. Because she's my daughter, I said simply. And I will always protect my daughter. Trevor took the stand. Under oath, he tried to deny everything, but Patricia was relentless. She played the recording I'd made of his phone call. Yes, I'd recorded it. One of the first things Amy had taught me to do. His voice came through clear. Yeah, I hit her. What are you going to do about it? The courtroom was silent. Mr. Morrison, Patricia said, did you or did you not hit your wife? He couldn't deny it, not with his own voice as evidence. It was one time, he said finally. I was stressed. It won't happen again. How many times does someone have to hit their spouse before it's taken seriously? Patricia asked. How many bruises are too many? The judge took a week to make her decision. The longest week of my life. Finally, on November 22nd, we all gathered back in the courtroom. Judge Morrison looked at Trevor, then at Emily. I've reviewed all the evidence, she said. The photos, the testimony, the recording, and I've made my decision. She looked directly at Trevor. Mr. Morrison, you are a successful attorney. You understand the law. And yet you chose to use your position and your resources to control and abuse your wife. That is unconscionable. I'm granting Mrs. Morrison full legal and physical custody of Oliver. Mr. Morrison, you will have supervised visitation only 2 hours per week, at a location to be determined by the court. You will continue to pay child support, and you will complete a batterer's intervention program before any consideration of increased visitation. Trevor's face went red. Your Honor! I'm not finished. The restraining order will remain in place for 5 years. If you violate it, you will be arrested. This court takes domestic violence seriously, and this court will not allow a child to be exposed to an abusive environment. She banged her gavel. We won. Emily collapsed in my arms, sobbing. Oliver, who'd been with Diane during the hearing, came running up. Mommy, Grandma! I scooped him up, holding both my daughter and my grandson, and for the first time in months I felt like I could breathe. Trevor left the courtroom surrounded by his lawyers, his face a mask of rage. Outside, the November sun was shining. Emily, Oliver, and I stood on the courthouse steps. What now? Emily asked. Now we live, I said. We move forward. We heal. Can we come live with you, Mom? Just for a while? You can stay as long as you want, forever, if that's what you need. That evening, Emily and Oliver's things moved into my small house. Oliver's toys in the living room. Emily's clothes in the spare bedroom that had been hers as a child. My WhatsApp group sent congratulations. Patricia wrote, You did it. You saved her. But I didn't save her. Emily saved herself. I just made sure she had the tools and support to do it. Over the next months, life slowly returned to normal. A new normal. Emily started therapy. She got a job at a local marketing firm. Not as glamorous as being married to a successful lawyer, but it was hers. She started smiling again. Oliver thrived. He didn't understand everything that had happened, but he was happy. He loved having grandma time every day. Trevor tried a few more legal maneuvers, but they all failed. Eventually, his lawyers advised him to accept the court's decision. He showed up for his supervised visits, always perfectly pleasant in front of the supervisor, but Emily could see the anger beneath. He'll never forgive me for leaving, she said one night. That's his problem, not yours. In February, 6 months after that terrible phone call, Emily sat at my kitchen table while I made tea. Mom, she said, I've been thinking about something. What's that? I want to become an advocate. For other women like me. I want to help them get out. I looked at my daughter, thinner now, but stronger, scarred, but healing. I think that's a wonderful idea, she smiled. I learned from the best. Now, a year later, Emily has her own place, a small apartment near my shop. Oliver is in kindergarten. Trevor still has supervised visits. But Emily isn't afraid anymore. She volunteers at the shelter that took her in. She talks to other women about her experience. She helps them document abuse, prepare for court, find lawyers. And me? I still run my craft shop. I still take morning walks with Diane. I still have my Wednesday quilting circle and Friday knitting group. But now I'm also part of something bigger. The WhatsApp group has grown. We're 47 members now, all family members of abuse victims. I share my story. I share what worked. I give others hope. Sometimes I think about that phone call. Trevor's voice. What are you going to do about it? I did something. I used every tool at my disposal. My savings, my documentation, my stubbornness, my love for my daughter. I played the long game. I was patient and strategic and relentless. And I won. Was it worth it? Every penny of the $43,000 I spent on lawyers. Every sleepless night, every moment of fear and doubt. Yes. 1,000 times yes. Because Emily is free. Oliver is safe. And Trevor Morrison learned that a 65-year-old craft shop owner can be a force to be reckoned with. People ask me sometimes if I forgive him, if I think Emily should maintain a relationship with Trevor for Oliver's sake. The answer is complicated. I believe people can change, but I've also seen what Trevor is capable of. I've seen the bruises, I've heard the threats, I've watched my daughter transform from a confident young woman to someone who flinched at shadows. So no, I haven't forgiven him. Maybe that makes me harsh. Maybe younger people think I should be more understanding, more willing to see his side. But I'm not interested in his side. I'm interested in keeping my daughter and grandson safe. And if that makes me an overbearing mother, a meddling mother-in-law, a difficult old woman, well, I can live with that. Because at the end of the day, Emily is alive. She's healing, she's rebuilding her life. And that's all that matters. Would you have forgiven him? Would you have pushed your daughter to maintain a relationship with her abuser for the sake of keeping the family together? Or would you have stood your ground like I did? Sometimes I wonder if younger people understand what it's like to be treated as invisible in your own family. To watch your child suffer and be powerless to stop it. To have someone look at you, a 65-year-old woman, and think you're too old, too weak, too irrelevant to fight back. Trevor Morrison learned that being underestimated can be dangerous. Because the grandmother with the craft shop and the morning walks and the quilting circle? She's also the woman who will move heaven and earth to protect her family. Never underestimate the power of a mother's love. Never underestimate the strength of a woman who's spent a lifetime surviving. And never, ever ask what we'll do about it. Because we'll show you.